They poured hot coffee on her like she was nothing. And in that moment, everything inside him broke. That was the day the courthouse steps became a battlefield. A battlefield where dignity, law, and humanity collided. Her name was Alicia Morrison, a 38-year-old black paralegal and single mother of two. She wasn't rich, she wasn't famous, and she wasn't there to cause trouble. She had come to court simply to testify in a routine civil case involving her landlord. Nothing dramatic, nothing political. Just a woman seeking fairness. But in America, fairness often arrives late, if it arrives at all. Alicia had been waiting outside the courthouse, reviewing her documents, when she noticed the two officers approaching. Officer Daniels, tall, broad-shouldered, always carrying the arrogance of someone who believed. The badge made him untouchable. And beside him, Officer Briggs, younger, eager to impress, with the reckless swagger of a man drunk on small power. Alicia felt her stomach tighten. They didn't greet her. They didn't ask questions. They didn't wonder why she was there. They only saw a black woman sitting alone, and they saw a disposable target. The officers walked straight up to her. Daniels smirked, lifted his paper cup of coffee, and said loudly, "Court's for people with real business. Move along." And before Alicia could respond, before she could even get up, he tilted the cup and poured scalding coffee across her lap. The liquid burned through her thin slacks, soaking her skin. Alicia screamed and stumbled backward, dropping her papers. Briggs laughed. "You're making a scene," he said. "Control yourself." The other pedestrians froze. Some glanced. Some whispered. But no one intervened. Because it was police. Because she was a black woman. Because people assumed the worst of her and the best of them. Alicia looked up at the marble steps of the courthouse. Strong, towering, and indifferent. Her skin stung. Her pride burned even hotter. But she said nothing. She simply gathered her papers with trembling hands. She didn't know that someone had seen everything. Someone who mattered. Someone whose presence would change the moment from humiliation into history. A man in a charcoal suit holding a leather briefcase stood at a distance. His jaw clenched as he watched the officers laugh and walk away. His name was Marcus Hale, and in 3 hours, he would walk into courtroom 3B and take his seat. Not in the audience, not at the attorney's table, but on the bench. Judge Marcus Hale, and he had just watched 2 police officers assault a black woman outside his courthouse, and he wasn't going to forget it. Not today, not ever. Alicia struggled to stand as the last drops of coffee slid down her leg. Her papers were soaked, her skin throbbing, and her breath sharp with humiliation. But as she rose, something inside her rose too. She wouldn't run. She wouldn't hide. She wouldn't let them force her away from the justice she came here to seek. She whispered to herself, "Not today. Not again." Because this wasn't the first time Alicia had faced cruelty. Life had thrown her battles from every direction. Poverty, bias, broken systems. But she had always survived. This time would be no different. She walked up the stairs, shoulders stiff with courage, and entered the courthouse lobby. The security guard, a middle-aged black woman named Miss Evelyn, gasped the moment she saw her. "Lord, what happened to you?" Alicia wiped her eyes. "Police." Miss Evelyn clenched her jaw. "You want me to call somebody? Supervisor? Sheriff?" Alicia shook her head. "What's the point? People like them always get away with it." Miss Evelyn stepped closer and said quietly, "Not with the new judge here. He don't play with injustice. Not even a little." Alicia didn't know who she meant. She didn't know the man who had watched everything. She didn't know that her story had already begun shifting the day's destiny. But she walked forward, sore, shaken, determined, and as she moved through the courthouse hallway, she passed a door she didn't recognize. Judge Marcus Hale, courtroom 3B. Behind it, Marcus sat alone, staring at his reflection in the polished wood of his desk. The image replayed in his mind over and over. The coffee, the smirk, the scream, the silence of bystanders. He had grown up watching his own mother suffer similar humiliations, called names. Shoved aside, denied opportunities. He had sworn he would become someone who could protect people like her. Someone with power. Someone with voice. Someone who could make the system answer for its sins. And today, that promise had returned full force. Before the bailiff finished, Marcus interrupted. Miss Morrison, are you injured? Alicia delivered her testimony, thorough, honest, and brave. Her landlord lost the case within minutes. Marcus had no patience for exploitation, but after the hearing, he didn't rush out like most judges. He waited. When the courtroom emptied, he stepped down from the bench and approached Alicia slowly. "I'm sorry for what happened to you today," he said gently. Alicia shook her head. "You didn't do it." "They did. But I watched it," Marcus replied. "And I didn't step in fast enough." Alicia looked up. "You did something." "Most wouldn't." Marcus exhaled deeply. "I became a judge to protect people like you. People like my mother. People who deserve better." Alicia felt tears rising. She had spent her life fighting for respect. And here, a man with power, real power, was standing in front of her saying he saw her humanity, her worth. The burn on her leg still throbbed, but something deeper began healing. "I'll make sure this doesn't disappear into paperwork," Marcus said firmly. "And I'll make sure you're safe." Alicia nodded, speechless. But there was a complication. Daniels came from a long line of officers. His father was a sergeant. His uncle sat on the police review board. His cousin was a local deputy chief. They weren't going to let assault charges slide easily. They were already circling the wagons. Within a week, Marcus received pressure. Private phone calls, subtle threats, backdoor conversations urging him to reconsider. One senior official told him, "Judge Hale, don't ruin the careers of two good officers over one unruly woman." Those words ignited a storm in Marcus. Unruly woman? He remembered Alicia's fear, her burns, her silence in the face of cruelty. He slammed his office door shut and called for an emergency disciplinary hearing. The police union representatives arrived confident. They expected to intimidate, to gaslight, to paint Alicia as a liar. But Marcus wasn't alone, because Alicia wasn't alone anymore. Half the courthouse staff showed up in support. Miss Evelyn testified. Bystanders came forward. Even a retired judge appeared, stating, "This is why the system fails. Because we let men like them twist the truth." The officers' lies crumbled. A month later, something unexpected happened. The mayor invited Alicia and Marcus to speak at a citywide justice forum. Alicia almost declined. Public speaking terrified her. But she remembered the day on the courthouse steps and refused to stay silent anymore. She walked onto the stage, nervous but strong, and she spoke. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with truth. She told her story, the humiliation, the pain, the fear, the years of being overlooked. But she also told of hope, of courage, of a judge who chose justice over politics. Marcus spoke next. He didn't give a lawyer speech. He spoke from the heart. Miss Evelyn testified. Bystanders came forward. Even a retired judge appeared, stating, "This is why the system fails. Because we let men like them twist the truth." The officers' lies crumbled. A month later, something unexpected happened. The mayor invited Alicia and Marcus to speak at a citywide justice forum. Alicia almost declined. Public speaking terrified her. But she remembered the day on the courthouse steps and refused to stay silent anymore. She walked onto the stage, nervous but strong, and she spoke. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with truth. She told her story, the humiliation, the pain, the fear, the years of being overlooked. But she also told of hope, of courage, of a judge who chose justice over politics. Marcus spoke next. He didn't give a lawyer speech. He spoke from the heart. "When I saw what those officers did, I saw my mother. I saw every black woman who had ever been dismissed, disrespected, or harmed. And I decided, enough." The city listened, truly listened. A month later, something unexpected happened. The mayor invited Alicia and Marcus to speak at a citywide justice forum. Alicia almost declined. Public speaking terrified her. But she remembered the day on the courthouse steps and refused to stay silent anymore. She walked onto the stage, nervous but strong, and she spoke. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with truth. She told her story, the humiliation, the pain, the fear, the years of being overlooked. But she also told of hope, of courage, of a judge who chose justice over politics. Marcus spoke next. He didn't give a lawyer speech. He spoke from the heart. "When I saw what those officers did, I saw my mother. I saw every black woman who had ever been dismissed, disrespected, or harmed. And I decided, enough. The city listened, truly listened, and reforms followed. Mandatory surveillance review for all police, new training programs on bias, independent prosecutors for police misconduct cases. Alicia became an advocate for court safety and witness protection. She found purpose in the very place that tried to break her. Marcus earned national recognition for his ruling, but he always said the same thing. It's not about me. It's about her. About people like her. Alicia visited the courthouse steps one day, the place that had once been her nightmare. This time she stood tall. This time she felt no fear. And beside her, the man who once watched in silence now stood as her ally. Judge Marcus Hale. The courthouse doors opened. People moved aside, not because she was weak, but because she finally walked with the dignity she had always deserved. Her story had become more than a case, more than an incident. It became a movement that began with humiliation and ended with justice. Alicia looked up at the sky and whispered, "Mom, I didn't break. I finally stood tall." And with that, her journey